Hello and welcome to Conversations in Horror. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I want to thank you for joining me for this amazing episode for this week. What we have today and what we do in our show is we like to take any type of classic or cult movie and discuss it in general terms so people can understand some of the craziness that is out there that film fans either love or they loathe. Today's guest we have is Philip Ray and Sarah Panazzo, who have been here before, and we're going to be discussing one of my favorite rock operas, which is Repo, the Genetic Opera. But before we get to that, let's ask each of them a little bit about themselves. So, Panazzo, can you tell everyone a little bit about who you do, what you do, and all that you do?
Who I do and what I do, Kevin?
I do get my point.
My name's Sarah. I do a lot of movie stuff. I love watching movies. I used to be one of those like gothic theater kids in high school, which is why this movie hit a little too close to home for me back then. But yeah.
All right. And Philip, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Philip Ray, and I'm I love films. I watch films all the time. Again, I've watched 46 films in 2023. I love watching films. And yeah, Repo, when we start talking about, I'll talk about how I got introduced to Repo, but it was very interesting.
Well, since you mentioned it, why don't you tell everybody how you got introduced to Repo, the Genetic Opera?
Repo, the Genetic Opera, it was same thing like Sarah talked about. I also was introduced in high school with it. I actually did not get to see originally. Repo was introduced to me through the couple of songs. I had a friend who was obsessed with it, and they made me listen to a couple of the songs in it, and that is what caught my interest in Repo, the Genetic Opera, which then, again, I ended up watching it again freshly last night to get fresh thoughts on it. But that's how I was introduced to Repo.
How about you, Panazzo?
So this was a very interesting time in the 2000s. So I was in high school. I was your gothic theater nerd person. So there were a lot of things that influenced me finally seeing this movie. One of the first ones was The Black Parade, came out in 2006, and I fell in love with goth operas, like the goth rock operas in general. You start going through some of the older musical acts, like Queen used to do rock operas and everything else. But that was like the big turning point, and I was like, God, this would be so cool if somebody else were to come out with a rock opera. And that's how we eventually got like American Idiot on Broadway and a bunch of other stuff. And I always thought this was cool. Go down the rabbit hole. Me loving horror movies, find this weird movie about Paris Hilton losing her face. Because, you know, this was also around the time of House of Wax, where everybody wanted to go see Paris Hilton melt. And so that was another big selling point, was Paris Hilton losing her face. And you're like, what are you talking about? Me as a theater kid, here Sarah Brightman is in it, who Phantom of the Opera originator. How can you not see that in a horror opera? So that was kind of my intro to it. It was a lot of little things that led up to me seeing this movie that I thought was super cool for the time. It has definitely aged, and not quite well, but it's still a huge, like, I don't know how they made this movie. I know it's got a huge, like, Hollywood following because that's where it originated, but it was a lot.
So, my coming into this is mostly because I like the director Daryl Lynn Boseman, who did Saw movies, and with the clout of having done 3 successful Saw movies, it gave him, like many directors who get a little clout from having successful movies, the opportunity to make a film of which he would have more control over, his dream project, so to speak. And this had, if I'm not mistaken, so correct me if I'm wrong, this was originally a play that he had done that he then wanted to adapt as a movie. Because if this was a first-time movie for him, no one in their right mind would ever give him the money to make it. Rock operas were not something that people actually did in the 2000s. I think they would pretty much died out as a film art. And musicals in general were kind of still had not hit their nadir.
Yeah, it was still very new.
They hadn't come back like they are now. So someone give it, and the thing is, Twisted Pictures, who did the Saw movies, were the people who chiefly gave him the money to make this film. He was part of their family at the time, and so of course they're going to give him money to make his dream project. What did he do? He gets Anthony Head, he gets Paris Hilton, Sarah Brightman, Paul Sorvino to be in a rock opera. So he wanted to appeal to the horror fans. And then, like you so graciously mentioned, a Paris Hilton in House of Wax, who I did also only want to see her die. So it's funny that I was not the only person who thought about that when I saw House of Wax. I just wanted to see her die. I was like, dude, I'll go see this movie at the theater if I get to see her die. Not to see, I don't like Paris Hilton. When I was young,
was just the time period. It was so oversaturated with her and what's her name?
Richie? Yeah, Nicole Richie.
Nicole Richie. Yeah, it was oversaturated with their TV shows and that lifestyle and everything else. And it was like, how do you sell this? And they're like, throw Paris Hilton in it. People are going to want to see it. I mean, it worked.
It worked. And the funny thing is, and I'll say this, that at the time, because you're right, it has not aged greatly, but some of the aspects of the film are actually really well done. The thing is that with the mixture of so many different really talented people, I think it worked at the time. Having Anthony Head in there from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like no one's expecting him to fucking do that. I know he was great in the musical Buffy episode, but a rock opera? Come on. Bill Moseley? Who's expecting Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be in a fucking musical? I certainly wasn't. I was like, okay. Paul Sorvino, he's used to doing serious stuff. Am I going to be watching Paul Sorvino do a musical? This is not something I was expecting, and it was like, I can get
well, and then the lead is Alexa Vega from Spy Kids, and you're like, okay. But
freshly out of Spy Kids. Like she just did Spy Kids like 5 years before that. So
I'm like, wow.
And Kevin, you were a little off with the director, but the two writers for the movie, Darren Smith and Terrence, I can't say his last name.
I don't know who wrote it.
Those two were the original writers, and Terrence is actually the grave robber in the movie.
Yes.
So no, they originally wrote it, came up with the idea in like the 90s. And then in 2002, they started adapting it into being a stage play, that they performed all the time. And it got really big. They were like traveling all around California, I believe.
Yeah. I can't remember if Bozeman directed the show itself or not.
No. So it's after years of being performed as a stage play, they adapted it into a 10-minute short directed and financed by Bozeman.
Okay.
And Michael Rooker was the original Repo Man.
Which I would love to see that.
Yes.
When I saw that, I was like, I want to see that.
That would be interesting too. Yeah, I would be very interested in that.
Yeah.
One thing interesting too about this is, like again, it got a cult following for a while, and for a while, Repo was treated on the same level as Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they would do shadow cast in front of the live show. Unfortunately, it did not get as cult following as Rocky, where you can go to many colleges and see them do Rocky Horror Picture Show. They will not do that for Repo, probably for multiple reasons. But I also would love to see a shadow cast of Repo, the genetic opera.
Well, and like I don't think we would have, because I thought they came out at the same time, but the movie Repo Man came out in 2010, which was 2 years later, and they never would have had that movie if this musical wasn't as big as it was.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, and you know. Pretty much the same fucking story, except for one of them
not musical
singing.
Yeah,
and Repo Man is not nearly as interesting as Repo the Genetic Opera. That movie was completely forgettable after I first saw it. I was like, yeah, this is okay. But and I want to bring this up because this is something that I guess came out before the movie. When I rewatched it, made me feel like I was watching a comic book because of all the comic book pain.
Yes.
For some reason, I don't remember all of that the first time I saw it because I hadn't seen it in several years, so I had forgotten a lot about it. But when I recently watched it, I was like, "Holy shit! This is like a precursor to the comic book movies."
And I believe Terrence is the one who created the comic book stuff for it, because I believe he's also a comic book creator.
So
yeah, all the comic sections, it reminds me a little bit of some of speaking of Spy Kid.
I was thinking of Creep Show.
It reminded me of some of the Robert Rodriguez.
Robert
Yes,
Rodriguez.
it reminds me of Sin City. Like a
Yes.
lot of
yeah.
stuff. It reminds
Extremely.
me of Sin City, and all of that, of having like the kind of comic sections of the movie.
Yeah.
I believe Sin City came out. Yeah, Sin City came out a little bit before this, so I'm wondering if a little bit of
Influence.
that inspired the director to like kind of copy some of the sections. I mean, again, they're good sections of the movie, but it did give me some Sin City vibes.
Yeah, and it is. I am confirming right now that Grave Robber is the one who did all of the animated sequences for the film, and
that's
he's the associate producer. So yeah, it helps that he wrote and ran the original one, helped write the music and everything, and then he illustrated stuff for it, which is phenomenal.
Well, Sin City was highly successful when it came out, but we hadn't gotten to the Marvel and DC worlds yet. We were still doing comic book adaptations that didn't really want to show that they were comic books. Sin City was probably one of the first ones to do that around that time, because most of the films before then tried to bury the fact that they were comic books. You know, nobody realizes that Road to Perdition or Violence are based on graphic novels because they hide it. They don't want people to know. But by the time Sin City comes out, Robert Rodriguez wants you to know this was based on the fucking comic book, and we are actually just making the comic book into a live film.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before everyone was into the Marvel DC thing. And Repo, this is why I forgot about this until I rewatched. I was like, oh yeah, they did have a lot of stuff in here, influences from comic books in there. And I forgot because back when I originally saw it, it hadn't been in the lexicon or language that we were used to like it is now. So what are some of your other thoughts on Repo?
So Repo for me, like Sarah said, a lot of it does not age the best. I still, first talking about the positive things about it is I still love the world building. I'm a big fan of world building. And Repo does a great job with the world building. Again, the concept of the fact that, so for the viewers who have not seen Repo and want to give it a watch, Repo is basically a world where organs are now basically are constantly being transferred either which way. You have to pay for organs, and if you don't pay, then people like the Repo Man will come and steal you and grab your organs back if you fail to pay on time.
And 10 years in the future from now.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
And it's about a young girl who is suffering from some disease there's a whole big corporate business going on as well, where the main leader of this company that is involved with organs is dying and is trying to find a successor, and more shenanigans go on throughout there. But yeah, everything with just that plot of, organs are now on payment, like, and stuff. It reminds me a little bit of that Justin Timberlake movie, with the time.
In Time.
In Time. It reminded me of that concept a lot too, of just like the fact that like normal stuff is now you have to pay for and stuff. Again, I love all the world building with that. I thought it was a very clever idea, the whole thing.
Yeah, back especially in high school, it was super edgy, and like it was before I knew steampunk was a thing, and it's very steampunk.
Yeah.
But then like now as an adult who's like done a bunch of theatrical stuff, like it really is a pretty decently well-written opera. Because you've got the romantic story in the background that shows why the bad guy is the bad guy, and all these other things, the mistaken identity, the unknown backstories and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of, if it wasn't as gruesome as it was, it would still be a very interesting opera to actually watch. I mean, even to the point that like when Mag takes out her eyes as a giant fuck you at the end. It's like, these are some of those like great opera moments that you see in some of these other shows. So I think even today, like if it was adapted a little bit different, I think, or even just originally brought out like this today, I think it'd do much better than it did back then.
I agree with you in that I think you guys touched on the reason why it doesn't have as big a cult following for current screenings as Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is gruesome. It's Rocky Horror Picture Show isn't gruesome.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been as gruesome as it was, I guarantee you it probably would have been the next Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I think the reason why it's not is so many people were trying to make it the next Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
You can't push that type of stuff on general audiences. As much as I hate the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I hate that Rocky Horror Picture Show, I love watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show with a live cast. I think that is an amazing experience, and I think I have so much fun watching what I consider a bad movie with a bunch of actors and people who really, really get into that world. And
especially when you get the audience screaming at the screen and everything. Much fun.
I have to say, I took a former girlfriend to see this, and I told her right up front, I was like, I don't know, I kind of hate Rocky Horror Picture Show. And she dressed up as Magenta. She dressed up the whole 9 yards, and we went up there. I'm looking normal, and I felt out of place because I was the one normal, and everyone in the theater was like, "You're normal. You're at Rocky Horror Picture Show. Why are you dressed normal?" Thankfully, I knew people in the cast. I was like, "You." Holy shit! Oh man! And I enjoyed it. I love watching it live. I will say that to everyone out there. I may hate the movie. I love watching it live, and I guarantee you, if I had seen Repo like that, I probably would have had the same experience. I would have loved it, not because I love gore films and stuff like that, but because the experience of seeing people perform it live is like it's a cult thing. This movie was made for it was made.
And it's hard to not watch it now and imagine like, okay, could this actually be a Broadway show now? Back in the 2000s, probably not. It was a little too gruesome. But now that we had the return of Sweeney Todd, where they wanted it more blood, more this, more that, and you're getting more and more into what spectacle can we pull off on stage. I think this could be something that could be revamped.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
definitely make a comeback in one way or another.
If someone could be developing the Saw musical, they could definitely be doing this fucking musical. Yes. So just put that little out there. I mean, everything is new again, and everything can be made into a musical because everything we can sing about for some odd reason.
It does start the influx of horror musicals, because like we've got this, then they ended up making the Sweeney Todd movie with Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. To even now, like there's a lot of other horror movies popping up here and there that people will do, to the point of we get like Anna and the Apocalypse, which is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely was ahead of its time, and it did open the door for some things that we did not expect in this community.
Well, go ahead, Philip. You go first.
One thing too, I definitely think this could be re-amped, because especially back then, some things like, again, the concept of like, oh, this organization, like, this is a story like organization, like making you pay for organs. Back then in 2007, 2008, that wasn't as noticeable and like not as prevalent as today, where I feel like today people definitely could swallow that pill a lot easier.
Most
like,
definitely.
oh yeah, this definitely feels like this is something that could happen. It seems like a potential future. And even one like small little story bit that they kind of cover a little bit, but not too much, is this idea that, again, all these rich people are like constantly getting organs and stuff to look prettier.
Redoing their faces and everything. Yeah.
That's what I want to pick up on.
That stuff is, again, back then in 2008, it was kind of happening. You were hearing about plastic surgery and stuff, but today I think that hits way closer to home.
Most
you
definitely.
hear celebrities all the time messing their faces up with plastic surgery. That, again, I think this movie would be way more relevant today than it was back in 2008.
Well, and you think about. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Kevin. Go.
Okay, so I'm going to add something to that because you brought up the point I wanted to talk about anyways, because I never saw that aspect in the movie until I rewatched it. The fact that Paris Hilton's character is all about and the brother,
Yes.
Pavi, is it
Yes.
Pavi?
Pavi, yes.
Are all about making themselves look better by the plastic surgery, their facial features and everything like that. And they don't have to. And Paul Sorvino's character is the character who has none of that. And of course, Bill Moseley's character has it, but he's hiding it. So when I rewatched it with that mentality, I'm like, holy shit, that's more common now today with, I hate to say, people getting the inserted butt cheeks and the huge breast augmentations and heaven forbid, the fake pecs for men and shit like that. I'm like,
the fake calves women get. I mean,
yeah.
You don't put these things together. It really was before its time, because then even going into Zydrate, like the rich people have these designer drugs they can take. So the poor people have to inject or remove stuff from corpses to create a similar drug. Don't tell me that's not an issue today as well.
I mean, think about
this. Was like this was
would
like
be insulin. Like
not even just insulin. I mean, if you look at anything, if you look at any of the designer drugs that get really expensive and stuff like that, and these people try it once and then all of a sudden they're hooked on meth because they're trying to get that high. But like this movie really was like if you consider 2002 the start of this was 20 years ahead of its time compared to where we are nowadays, where all of this stuff is very relevant.
When you're watching TV, or if you watch real TV, I don't know how many people still do that. I occasionally have to. You're seeing nothing but ads for the newest drug to do this, the newest drug to do that, the newest drug to do all that stuff. And you always hear, well, it may give you this, it may give you that, but we don't know yet, but we're going to tell you it may give you something that you don't want afterwards. The warning. But there's a drug now for every little thing now. And it's crazy that that's what's on our television screens all the time is commercials, are ads for drugs and pharmaceuticals. And all of that's in this movie. If you look close enough, the ideals behind it is like, holy shit.
I mean, even some of the technology where they've got the 3D images in the house where they're just like popping out of the wall. And it's like, that's very close to what we have today. I mean, everything about the movie was very on the nose for now.
Yeah. Philip, you had something to say?
Nope, that's basically it. Yeah. So again, I think this could very much be remounted today. But well, we'll unfortunately, I feel like it's very unlikely it will. So talking about going on the flip side of things, of what now doesn't work today that maybe worked back then. One thing I will say, talking about like the comparing a Rocky Picture Show and stuff, I think there are songs here that could make that got close. Again, there were the two songs that like I was introduced that got me interested in this was Night Surgeon and At the Opera Tonight. Those were the two songs that I was introduced to that got me interested into this movie. Now, that being said, there are a lot, like when I look at Rocky Picture Show, I know you don't love it as much, Kevin. All the songs, and maybe it's because they're played so much, are really good. A lot of the songs are really good. Some of Repo songs in this movie are not good, and it wasn't until a second view and watching it again, there are certain songs that you're just like, at least for me, I was like, they needed another go through again with either the lyrics, or some of the actors just could not hit some of those notes. Like I love Paul Sorvini. There were some notes that he just could not hit when he had to go up higher tone. I'm like, you should not have given him that.
Well, I think it's also hard because the problem with a rock opera is that it is an opera. Therefore, it's sing everything. So even though a lot of the dialogue's not part of a real like song, it's all still sung. So you're blurring the lines between what's part of the actual dialogue and what's actual breakout in song. It's a little bit harder than saying, "Oh, we're watching Buffy the Vampire the Musical," and those are definite songs with definite breaks. And because I haven't seen many rock operas, I actually don't know how effective or how well those type of songs work. The only I watch real opera, which is all designed that way. But a rock opera is something I don't think I've seen. I don't think I've experienced enough to be able to give you a very good opinion about.
Well, and now a lot of rock operas are, you get like the jukebox musicals. So you get like Tommy with the Who. So you get more stuff like that. Like I said, American Idiot was another big one. Jesus Christ Superstar. So you get a lot of these that you wouldn't compare to an opera. It's operatic in the point that it sings the entire time. It's not an opera where this is like a real opera.
Well, I think Sarah Brightman's the only person who can hit every fucking note that is put in front of her face.
Bless her voice. Oh my gosh.
I can listen to her all day, all night for like 7 days straight and still not get bored. I love listening to her sing. That being said, I was actually surprised that Paris Hilton did not make my ears want to bleed. I don't think I really took into a fact that her and Bill Moseley and Paul Sorvino were singing the first time I saw the movie. It doesn't click to me that they're singing the movie. It's an opera. To me, they just sang lines that just sound like there's music behind them. But when I rewatched it, I kind of say, okay, so someone actually taught them a little bit about what they're supposed to do in a rock opera. So that there's like the beginning song with all of them, when they all have lines, all the brothers and sisters are talking about who's going to take over the corporation. They actually make sense. I think they all did a fine job there. And I think that the film keeps them at a minimum on how much they actually sing.
Well, and it's, go ahead.
And
that was actually my least favorite song. I actually thought that both of them, like, again, at least the guys, like, they do better later on when they're supporting, but since that song was one of their main songs, I'm not gonna lie, there are some notes that they were hitting really bad. I was like, oh.
And I think that's part of the point, is you've got these characters you don't like, and it's keeping their voices in character.
Yeah.
Which it's very hard to do when you do like a real opera, but you get like the weird like sassiness when they sing and stuff like that. But Paul Sorvino actually made his Broadway musical debut in '64. So he is actually trained, which I completely forgot about because I'm so used to him being like a mop guy in most of the stuff he does.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I knew about that with Paul Sorvino, but I didn't know, I don't know the actor who played Pavi. And Paris Hilton, I heard her album when she tried to sing and I wasn't a fan. Bill Moseley, I was like, dude, you're chop top. Are you supposed to be able to sing? I don't want to see Chop Top singing. I don't know what. To me, that's what that is. Alexa Vega, I was surprised because all I knew her from was Spy Kids. Anthony Head, I knew could sing because he was classically trained and he did Buffy the Vampire the musical. So I was like, dude, I'm down for you being the star of this movie. But when the movie came out, no one knew who the fuck Anthony Head was. Yeah, he's what's his face, Giles. But you're not thinking that he needs to be a headliner for a movie where he sings. Like, this movie wasn't sold on, but probably Paris Hilton may have been the defining moment we're selling this movie, with Sarah Brightman second. Because, musical people know who the fuck Sarah Brightman is, but you get outside of musical people, and there's a lot of people who have no idea who Sarah Brightman is. But I love Sarah Brightman, and Paris Hilton's just entertaining as fuck. I hate to say.
But no, Pavi was part of a industrial music group, Skinny Puppy, which he co-founded.
Oh, really?
So he did a lot of electronic music. His name is Ogre, that's what he typically goes by. But no, he is known for doing a bunch of musical stuff, which is why I was like, okay, I know these people can sing. It actually takes a lot of talent to sing this badly. It's very hard to not, like, you'll get the people who sing off key and stuff like that, but this is like outrageous.
I am ashamed to say that I know who Skinny Puppy is, and Ogre, and I did not know that that's who played Pavi.
Well, it doesn't help they cover up his face with another face the entire movie.
Yeah, but I feel so bad now, and everyone knows it. Sorry. I should have known that. I didn't. Of all the things I should have known that shit.
But yeah, but overall, like I thought the cast was again like probably Anthony Head and Paul Cervani. Those both. I mean, again, I loved all of their. Paul Cervani just had like one song for me that I was like, but like I thought both of them, like you were saying, Kevin, like especially Anthony Head, he does a great job with all of his songs, and stuff. Overall, I mean, the cast is generally like really good, and it's just that again, I think some of the songs the lyrics could have been little more rewrite and stuff, but
They've had years of practice on live stages.
yeah.
I would love to know the differences between the live version and the film version, though.
Yeah, there's slight story differences and character differences, but yeah, like I said, I'd be interested to see this as like the return of the stage musical.
Yeah.
Because that would be fun. But no, going to your songs, like I think the only song that really took me out of the entire movie was 17. And then where you've got like the rock and roll punk bit, and then all of a sudden Joan Jett shows up, and you're like, okay, I guess, sure. And then DJ Grandma at the end, love DJ Grandma.
Bozeman, like I said, Bozeman, this was his dream project. He threw everything in the kitchen sink at this movie,
and it makes sense.
And unfortunately, like most dream projects, they don't do well at the box office, which is unfortunate. And that means that these people have to go back to what was their bread and butter, and try and rebuild their reputation again. And unfortunately, Bozeman hasn't been able to rebuild his reputation again. He went back to doing straight horror films, and he's still working through that whole thing. I'm sure he was hoping that working back on the Saw franchise was going to kickstart that again. So, but he's a very accomplished director, and I think this film on its own is probably it's the film that you get to see the most of his talent in. Like, he was able to put a lot of himself into this movie visually, and it's stuff that you don't see in his later films. And he still does lots of films now. Like I said, he hasn't stopped. It's just the fact that this one did so bad that he went back to doing kind of almost straight horror films for most of his career. That's not. Hopefully, Bozeman, you ain't watching this or listening to this, and I don't think anything badly of you. I've seen all your movies, so.
I mean, because it does have a lot more of him in it, because you get a lot of stuff that you don't see in the other ones, like the lighting work in this is really well done, especially with the vials glowing. Like, it's so iconic for this film. But then you get into, like, I know Saw is very realistic in what they do, but the overdoneness of some of the gruesome parts of this movie are fantastic. Like when what's his name? When Giles uses the one guy as like a giant meat puppet.
Yeah.
While he's like removing his organs, and it's like, where else are you gonna watch this?
Yeah, it's again, I think visually, just everything with the cinematography was great. I think again with the lighting, all of it.
The costumes, even.
The
I
costumes,
love the costumes.
it's very unique with that. Like, it just feels very unique while watching.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm hoping he gets a chance to do another creative movie like this. Someone should give him a budget. Stop giving Zack Snyder budgets to do shit like he's currently doing, and give Bozeman another opportunity to do another Repo movie.
No, you know what? Tell Zack Snyder if he wants to make another movie, he has to make a musical first. I want to see what happens with that one.
It's gonna be a slow-mo musical.
Rebel Moon, the musical with the weird slow motion.
Everything's in CGI.
Well, he did almost do his musical version with what the fuck was that movie? Sucker Punch. There's music.
Yeah, that's actually really close to this. Like, I feel like they could almost be in the same universe.
I could see that a little bit.
Oh shit. But we gotta get back to Repo, and I can't think of what to say next.
Yeah, I mean, it could be revamped. It definitely hasn't aged well, but like we said, the stuff that goes into it, like the gruesomeness, like the blood and gore is just phenomenal. The parts where they're peeling off faces and putting on new faces and just ripping out body parts and like labeling them and just throwing them in bins, or we ran out of livers, let's kill the nurse that's over there. It's really funny too.
Yeah, it is
It's
funny.
very much a dark comedy.
Yeah, it is a very dark comedy.
And you bring up a good thing, is that if Boseman was to redo this now, years removed from Saw, would it be as gruesome as it is? Because this was right after Saw for him. And so you see a lot of the influences from what he had been doing in the Saw 2, 3, and 4, I believe, and how gruesome this movie is. If he was to do it now, would it be nearly as gruesome as it was back when he originally did it? I don't think it would be. He's played a lot with psychological films in his later career, and I believe that he would probably do a much better film now. I'm not putting any words in his mouth or anything like that, and I am actually hoping that he revisits something similar to this. But I think that he could probably do a much grander film.
Yeah, and
of this.
I think at the same time it wouldn't be as shocking as it was in 2008, where Saw was big and people had never seen anything like that before. This was one of the first of its time where you don't see this kind of gruesomeness on screen. Now it's kind of ordinary. Everybody's kind of used to it. So it's like, is he going to make what you described, or would he try and raise it to the next level?
Yeah.
I think he would do, I think a remount, I think if he revisited this and remade it, I think he would do, like you both said, a better job, because I think he would be a lot more constructive with his gore. I think he would be a lot more, I think he would focus a lot more on the psychological stuff. Like, I think he would do a better job now if he remade it than, like, all the small problems we may have watching it now. I think he would fix that if he did it again.
Well, yeah. I think his cast would be completely different. Not so much scatterbrained.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cast, but it is kind of a scatterbrained cast that you're not expecting. I actually like that, but I also think that it's also odd.
Yes.
But
let's be real. If they did it today, Jenny Ortega is going to be cast as the lead.
Yes, most definitely.
That's all we need is Wednesday Addams as the lead in this movie. We did get a spy kid in there, so which is better? All right. Well, are there any final thoughts or final words on Repo the Genetic Opera from either one of you? Tell me something.
Again, I definitely think this is one of those films that could definitely be done today. Again, like we talked about earlier, it was before its time. I think today, if it came out, it would have been a lot more of a success. I think even doing a remake, it would be a lot more success. I mean, I would love another Rocky Horror Picture Show like phenomenon, where people would take this movie and then do what they do with Rocky Horror. I think that would be the fact that another film hasn't tried to hit that demographic.
They've tried. They've failed.
I mean,
they just
successfully try anyway. I think it would be nice to have another success like that.
I don't think you can have. I don't think Rocky Horror is a once in a lifetime thing. It doesn't happen because the studio wants it to happen. It happens because the audience wants it to happen. No one remembers the sequel to Rocky Horror, Shock Treatment. No one. It's same fucking O'Brien.
Yeah, he did
Shock Treatment, and it's even as much as he tries to recreate the feeling of Rocky Horror in that movie, it fails horribly. And he wrote the first one, but it's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Repo was designed. In theory, I think the studios wanted to be designed to be the next Rocky Horror Picture Show. It didn't, because you can't force it on the audience. An audience has to find it themselves. That's what I have to say. But I want to hear what you have to say, Panazzo.
No, I kind of agree with that. It kind of has it had the same build as Rocky Horror. It started off as a stage musical that was a cult classic that they turned into a film because so many people liked it. It was ahead of its time, but this is definitely one of those horror movies that deserves a remake.
Yeah.
Because where it was at the point, it didn't hit. Nowadays, there would be so many people going to see this because it's so familiar to so many other themes that we've got in horror movies nowadays and TV shows. And because it's all familiar territory that people are used to.
I agree.
I think it deserves a remake. It definitely deserves a second chance. Definitely deserves a better Broadway writer.
The thing is, with so many properties, or IP as studios like to call it, out there that they're revamping for musicals for Broadway and the London stage, which is West End and the rest of them. I think that this is one that would do with a revival. Maybe not on Broadway, but at least off Broadway, that actually allow people to watch a unique story done in a unique way. I'm all for having more horror on Broadway. I think it's great. That's just my opinion. But I can't get to New York to get to Broadway, and I surely can't get to fucking London and the West End. So I have to get it as a film if I can. So that's how I see it. I would love to see it. I would love to see a more mature Boseman tackle this material again. I think
Agreed.
it's worth tackling again because I really enjoyed the film on the third time I watched it. The recent one I just watched was not the second time I've seen it. I've seen it twice now, three times now, but it was like the third time I watched it because I've actually listened to the music more than I've seen the movie. I have the soundtrack. I love the music, but I can listen to the music anytime I want to. I just can't watch the movie like while I'm driving, shit like that. But I know the songs because I've listened to it. I like the songs. I'm not always watching people get their organs ripped out when I'm listening to the songs. So it's a different feeling for me when I'm watching the movie. It's like I haven't seen the movie in fucking forever, but I know the songs like the back of my hand. I hope people will watch the movie and enjoy it. Kind of like the experience I had with watching Evil Dead the musical. There's no fucking movie of that, and I've seen 5 different versions of it.
Yet.
And I never get tired of watching Evil Dead the musical. That is, I fucking love that shit. So if you're in the mood for something that's gory and great and outside the box, go watch Evil Dead the musical if you can. But in lieu of that, watch Repo the Genetic Opera because it's just as fun to enjoy. You just don't have the blood coming at you from the stage, which I actually enjoy when I'm watching Evil Dead the musical because I think it's horrifying and funny at the same time. So with that, I would like to thank my guests for joining me on this amazing opera adventure. And I promise I did not rip out any of their organs except for maybe a thigh here, a buttocks there, something like
A
that.
liver,
A liver. I took a heart out once. So I took out Philip's brain, so the next time he's on the show, he won't have anything to say except da, da, da. But I do like to thank all of you for joining us for this conversation of horror. We hope that you enjoyed our rant and ravings about it, and that you come back and listen to some of the other shows that we've done before, and are anticipating some of the shows that we will have in the future. With that, thank you all, and have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, produced by Kevin L. Powers, executive produced by Kelly A. Inoka, and originally filmed via Zoom technology. Conversations in Horror is hosted by Kevin L. Powers and co-hosted by various horror film lovers and filmmakers. To learn more about Mr. Powers, please make sure to check out his Patreon page and other social media platforms. Conversations in Horror is copyright 2024 Broken Lighthouse Pictures production.